And we welcome you in the Sam and Cole podcast following the Jaguars' really terrific start to the season and really terrible end to the start of the season. 34-17, the final in Philadelphia. We're brought to you by Black Creek Outfitters, who start and end every season with a bang. Everything you need for the outdoors. They're near the town center. Stop on in, and whether you're paddleboarding or hiking or camping or barbecuing or just standing around in the elements, they've got it for you there at Black Creek Outfitters.
Ski equipment too, if you're thinking about.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I got some ski equipment from them, or ski clothing from them several years ago that I would still use if I had been skiing lately.
There you go.
Sam, we talked in our preview of this game about the laying out the schedule, the first 5 games. If the Jaguars were 2-3, boy, they look. You'd be pretty happy with that, but at halftime, I was sitting there thinking, boy, is this a team that could be 3-2, 4-1, maybe?
I agree with you. Yeah. You're thinking about, hey, this might be a playoff team. But obviously in Philadelphia today and seeing the game, I thought a lot of different things. To start with, instead of separating the game by 2 halves, what if you took the good things that the Jaguars did and the good things that the Eagles did and kind of segmented them out throughout the game, rather than it happened one half and then the other happened and then the other half? Would you have the same kind of feeling? If the Jaguars went up 7-0 and then we're down 10-7 and then led 14-7 and then we're down 21-14 and then we're down 24-14 and then we're down 24-17 and then lost. You see what I'm saying?
I would probably actually feel worse about it.
Okay, and that's what I think that's what people have to think about. Would you feel better or worse? And I agree with you. I'd feel worse about that because what I saw was a validation of what the guys have been telling me, and that is we have the players on this team to get it done. And that, to me, I think has been in question. Were they good enough?
Well, okay, to get it done, to be competitive, yes.
But I don't know that you can just say, oh, they're only capable of being good for a half, because the mistakes that they made in the second half are all fixable. They were just errors of communication and not understanding what was going on. It wasn't like they weren't good enough to get the job done.
Well, and the injury to Cyprien clearly affected the game.
Yeah, Cyprien gets hurt, and then they got to take Evans out of the game because he won't tackle anybody.
Yeah.
And so now Przinski's in the game, and just he reads it as a run, and the guy runs right past him, and it's an easy touchdown. And then, and by the way, for those of you who follow this sort of thing, the fumble by Henne that was run back for a touchdown allowed the Eagles to cover.
Right. Apparently everybody but me on Twitter was aware of that. Because I looked up and like 15 people had tweeted that. Sam, one of the things
But it did come in under, as some people said it would.
Under the total?
1 point.
Okay.
What was it, 51, right? Yeah,
because
the total was
52. And probably most of those predictions were.
But if you go back to our last podcast, we both said the Jaguars would lose, and I said I thought they'd lose something like 35-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that yes, when this team has the ability, is starting to click, they have the ability to do the things that they did in the first half, and breaking it down. There's so much talk about Henne and Lee and this and that. That's not it. Let's talk about Ziggy Hood and Chris Clemens and Ryan Davis and the pressure that they brought.
They did in the first half. In the first half. Where did it go in the second half?
Well, that's a good question. I think that this is a learning experience for everybody in the locker room, including the coaches, because clearly the Eagles made some adjustments and were not. And even without 2 of their starting linemen,
right? That was what I was going to bring up. That's the big thing? Is you would expect that if 2 of the starting linemen, including arguably their best starting linemen, are out, and you've gotten 5 sacks in the first half, you ought to have a field day in the second.
Exactly.
They got very little pressure at all on Nick Foles in the second.
Who, by the way, is there for the taking. I mean, he's not going anywhere.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
He is not Michael Vick.
No.
You're talking about the good things that the Jaguars did. Obviously, Alan Hearn's performance in the first half was terrific. But again, as he went, so sort of did the team. Henne had his normal Hennified a section there where he couldn't throw it to anybody and was getting everything batted down. Then he snapped out of it and was better at the end. But again, it's this. The first game we always overreact because it's the only thing we have to go on. It's a small sample size, but it's our only sample size. But when people talk about the Jaguars making the playoffs, one of the things you and I talked about is that there are some guys who have to do some things that they have never done before in order for the Jaguars to make the playoffs. Henne had I think if you're going to open up the dictionary, look up a Chad Henne game, this was it, right? Pretty good at times, made a couple of throws, then stopped throwing the ball down the field, had a bunch of balls batted down, had some throws that you go, what in the world? And maybe it's his fault, maybe it's the receivers. But the typical Henne thing. And this game was not all on the quarterback, by the way. But it's just,
But I will say that,
game.
I don't know what they showed on the TV, but being there in person, there were 6 balls that Henne threw that should have been caught, including 3 very critical ones in the second half.
And it looked like there were, I can remember 2 right offhand that probably could have been. It was not a perfect throw, but certainly you would expect a top receiver to make the catch. Jaguars did a terrible job on third down, offensively and defensively, and that's the biggest. To me, that way, if you're going to look at one of those stat-driven components to the game, they didn't get their first third down conversion until I think like 6.5 minutes left in the game, something like that, and they couldn't get the Eagles off the field on third down.
And a couple of those on that one long drive was penalties.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go look at the tape of this game, they're going to see what they did right in the first half and how they didn't adjust to some of the things the Eagles did in the second half. So I think that'll help them in the long run. They're going to see some receivers that should have made some catches. They're going to see that the stretch play that they're trying to run. I don't know what component of it doesn't work, but the play doesn't work.
Yeah,
okay?
Outside zone, outside zone. I'm okay with. Stretch play, no. I mean,
no. Notice when Toby Gerhart had his 2 best runs of the game, he ran for 11 and 9. They basically ran back, handed to him 4 yards back in the backfield as he was going forward. He picked a hole and he drove things forward. It was a straight at the line of scrimmage kind of thing. I mean, and that's the way he's built to run. Let him do it.
Yeah, there were a couple of things that I thought were unusual in terms of use of personnel. One of those was with Mercedes Lewis, particularly in the second half. And this drives me nuts, and I'm just going to go on record again. I've said this on the radio before, but if you have any play in your offense that is designed to have Mercedes Lewis catch the ball or be in the pattern where you catch the ball with his back to the defense, take it out. Because he's not going to do anything with it if he catches it at that point. If all you need to do is have him body up downfield, fine. But there were 3 or 4 times, and he didn't catch all of them, or didn't have the opportunity to. But Mercedes Lewis has got to be going downfield. One of those opportunities where he was going actually kind of on an angle was that 4th down call to go for it on 4th down. A lot of talk about that. Did you like the call?
I would have gone for it there. I would have given it to Gerhart 3 yards deep and let him find 6 inches is what I would have done. I mean, that's where you muscle up and you say to, Brandon Linder and Jacques McClendon, who's in there because he's powerful, and Beatles because he's experienced. You say to the guys, hey, look, either neutralize it or give me a yard because that's all we need, or the game's over.
And when he got ahead of steam up, Gerhart did a nice job of moving the pile. Did that several times. I don't see anything with Gerhart after one regular season game. We saw him in the preseason, but one regular season game that tells me that he is, a 1,200-yard running back.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, with a brand new offensive line, I mean, maybe they don't have the capability of getting any running back 1,200 yards. But I think he's an absolute upgrade over their running game of the last 3 years.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't have signed him. My point is, if you want 75 yards a game on the ground, which is not unbelievable, but if you want consistently 75 yards, that means, if you have a 50-yard game, you got to have a 100-yard game mixed in. So far, I haven't seen it. I think, and part of that is because of the fact that he's not going to make big plays running to the edge.
Right. That's true. He's going to make big plays, getting into the middle of the line and getting to that second level and then being able to burst past the linebackers. That's where he's going to make big plays. He is not going to get to the edge and beat anybody who's got the angle on it.
Did this game change your mind at all about where the Jaguars' season will go?
Because
you and I both had I think I had 6 wins and you had 7. Did you have 7?
6 or 7, yeah, somewhere in there. If I couldn't pick the same number as you, I would have picked 7.
Yeah,
but I'll say this as well. The Eagles are a team in the top half of the league. Is that okay to say?
Certainly top half. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe better. Maybe better.
Maybe a little bit better than that. So it's not as if the Jaguars got beat by nobody. And I just feel like that it's almost the perfect game for this group of Jaguars because I think that they can learn so much from it. And I think that they really can see, holy smokes, what the hell was the matter with us?
Mm-hmm.
We had it, and we let it slip away. And when you're in the moment, and when you're there in the stadium, you could feel it disappearing. I mean, even when the Eagles came out and scored their first touchdown, I mean, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good.
Right. And in fact,
I don't know if you can feel that on TV or not.
I could, and I tweeted right after that, the Jaguars have to get some points out of this possession if they're going to win the game. And people are like, oh, it's so early. Come on, naysayer. But you can just feel momentum, and I think my line after the next touchdown was, momentum is holding a cheesesteak and has a Liberty Bell tattoo. I mean, it was pretty obvious.
Right. And, and the crowd, the crowd was completely silent in the whole first half.
Yeah.
Not a peep, except when they booed the Eagles.
Which they did a lot, by the way.
Which was fine. So then all of a sudden things kind of went in the other direction. I mean, young players are going to make big mistakes. And Gus Bradley said it in his post-game press conference, little things can lead to big things on both sides of the ledger. And you saw that for the Jaguars. Some little things happened. The second catch that Hearns made for the touchdown was an excellent catch. The ball was thrown behind him. He makes the catch, and then he gets in the end zone. I mean, a real athletic play. Those are the small things. The balls that he and Lee dropped, which were literally back-to-back the same route down that side, that were beautifully thrown by Henne, that both of them should have caught. Professional. We pay you to catch a football.
Yeah, Hearns should have laid out for his. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but this is what we pay you to do: catch the football. You should be among the top, 100 people in the world with the ability to catch a football. So when we throw you that ball, you should catch it.
Catch the ball.
Yeah, and so was it a hard catch?
By the way, you sound somewhat you sound somewhat Banaszak-esque in that.
Is that right?
Right. All you have to do is kick the ball. Which Scobie would have gotten from him today.
Right. All you got to do is kick it. So I just think that that we'll find out if Gus's philosophy is still hanging tough here in the second year. It's hard to doubt it when the team went 0-8 last year and everybody was still on board. That was the most impressive thing maybe about the whole season, that everybody still was part of his philosophy. If it's still hanging in there next week, where this team makes that leap that we always say between game 1 and game 2, then I don't think it changed my mind about the team. It gave me this glimmer that, oh, wait a minute, they could be better than we thought. But it didn't make me think, oh yeah, they're a 2-win team.
No, it did not do that. It didn't change my thought at all. I think they have some talent. I think the defense is better. when healthy. And one thing occurred to me there with about 3 minutes left in the ball game after the defensive touchdown was scored by the Eagles, that if the Jaguars were going to continue their tradition or their recent trend of being unconventional, that would have been a good time to put Bortles in to get him some game action. Just to give him. I know that they wouldn't do that. I know, but I was thinking, hey, the game's over now. 34-17 with 3 minutes. You use up all your timeouts. You just give him a little flavor. That's part of the development thing, but it didn't happen.
Didn't happen, and I think that the reason that doesn't happen is because of the respect that Gus has for Chad, and I just think that they have a lot of respect for him, and they feel like that he has got.
Yeah, but you know what, Sam? Yeah. If they would have told Henne and announced this, that there may be some times in games if the game is decided that we'll get him some playing time.
Right, but they haven't said that.
They never said that.
Maybe that's what they need to say, and that wouldn't be a bad thing for them to say.
Yeah, I agree.
At some point, but I mean, a lot of people are already talking about putting Bortles in the game, but Henne had a 141.1 quarterback rating in the first half, and I don't know what he finished at in terms of quarterback rating, but he's a career 76 QBR, for his career. I mean, it doesn't matter what year, whether he had a great year or an average year or whatever. I mean, he's, that's his quarterback rating, no matter what. So for him to be at 141 was just astronomical.
But quarterback ratings are scored over the course of an entire game, not a half.
Yeah, that is true.
The half doesn't matter.
But then again, a guy with a quarterback rating of 0 made the 49ers.
There is that. Who they traded a 6th-round pick for.
Right. So.
All right, hats off real quickly to Billy Horschel for winning, and he is now one of the 5 guys who, if they win next week at the Tour Championship, he wins the FedEx Cup and $10 million, which is
and that, by the way, that's no longer just $10 million in what used to be $10 million annuity.
Yeah, it's $10 million.
They win $10 million, So it's pretty. It's pretty good. Who are do you happen to know the other guys?
Henne, by the way, 89.9 was the quarterback rating.
So 90 quarterback rating of 90. That's pretty good.
That's a better than normal Henne game. He's a high 70s kind of guy typically. The other guys were the other guys who have won in the chase for the cup. So
it's Chris Kirk,
Rory, I think, right? Didn't
Rory McIlroy,
or does
who's in the top 5 there? I don't know. I certainly can look it up, but Chris Kirk. What is it? Horschel, right? Obviously, Horschel, Chris Kirk, McIlroy. I don't know who else is who is up there.
I'm looking here.
Furyk has more. Furyk finished what, 4th? Tied for 4th or something.
Yeah, he's not won a single tournament this year, but only McIlroy and Matt Kuchar have more top 10s than he does.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And in big tournaments. I mean, he's played well in big tournaments. So, I don't know, Cole. I think they have a chance to be better, but if not, they're still in that development phase. Bubba Watson and Hunter Mahan are the other 2.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
who have a chance. Thank you. So there we go. Next week against the Redskins, your instant analysis is they win or lose.
I think they win because I don't think RG3 can beat you unless he's running around, and I don't think they want him running around.
How about this tweet I saw today? A guy said, within 3 years, the statue in front of Baylor's Stadium of RG3 will have more mobility than RG3 himself.
I was going to say he was going to have a lot of blown ACL and betting. That's why anybody who gets enamored with college quarterbacks who run around.
Mm-hmm. That's what happens.
It's the cautionary tale. literally, Steve Young and Randall Cunningham are the only guys who were run-around quarterbacks who have made it for any length of time.
Fran Tarkenton.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say in the modern NFL.
Fran Tarkenton's not in the modern NFL?
Well, he's not since free agency. He's not since guys. Okay. You have 290-pound defensive ends coming after running 4.5.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Supplements in Fran Tarkenton's days were either
Greenies,
Bud or Bud Light, and
there was
chicken
no
or steak.
Bud Light in Fran Tarkenton's day.
Okay, Bud or
no
Miller.
Such thing as light beer.
Okay, Bud, even more to my point, Bud or Miller.
Schaefer's, Stroh's,
Red, white,
Valentine, Schlitz, Hams, all
Iron
those.
City.
Okay, yeah, Iron City, all those, but there was no
Narragansett,
Bud Light. Right, National Bow. Give me a Natty Bow. So.
By the way, I'm just going to tell you, you're getting a lot fed there by Kevin and Matt, your producers, your Channel 4.
Right.
This is why I like these guys, because they can rattle off a whole lot of really bad beers.
But any more bad beers, according to Cole? Okay. All right. Black Label, PBR. There you go. Which now in a lot of places I've been in Europe is like some sort of delicacy. So pretty fun.
No accounting for taste.
Yeah. All right.
That'll do it for the Sam and Cole podcast. You can follow Sam on Twitter at Sam Kavaris. You can follow me on Twitter at Cole Pepper. As always, we are brought to you by Black Creek Outfitters. Stop on in at the town center, just next to the town center, and say hi to the Butler family and check out what you need for your life outside. And as we're recording this, it is coming down in buckets in Avondale, and I'm about to put on my Black Creek Outfitter purchased rain jacket to go outside and move my wife's car. So let me do that, and we'll join you next time right here on the Sam and Cole podcast.